Okay. Sometimes you have to make like a thing where you have all these interstellar like kind of empires going up against each other. Yeah, you could have a complete and utter like chaotic war everywhere, but it's kind of like, again, like I keep saying, where it's an ideological war. Now the kid gloves will come off eventually, but they're each trying to suss out like what the overall kind of resource level is. Um, the few times that I do show the villains, it's to showcase what their a little bit of what their goal is. Um, as far as Typha's situation, that won't actually be resolved until season 4. Uh, if you take a look at the not the prologue, but in issue 1, where they're hanging out with the triplets, I actually had the triplets say things that are going to happen in later on seasons, or even towards a little bit of the end of this season. And it's kind of like they want to see how many particular house members are completely corrupted, because imagine somebody with matter manipulation. Now, the different Typherians, based on their house or where they're coming in from, they have greater mastery over it than some others. But imagine if the bad guys got control of most of that, and there was nothing holding that particular automaton back. You'd have a great swath of slash and burn. But a lot of the enemies want to convince others that their worldview is the more correct one. So they want to offer up more bodies for the mill, as it were. Um, the thing is, like I just like the aspect of like this whole big Cold War happening, and then eventually, things are going to get very rowdy. You know, you'll even see a bit of that near the end of season 2. But the big reason why they're going to let humans start integrating into Typha is despite what most of the house people think. Like, you'll see, like, this is something that's been boiling over for a while, because Set also wants to use this as a test bed. He, just like the sisters testing certain things, seeing how certain reactions play out, Set wants to do something similar, but he wants Eliza and Dexter to grow in their power, so that way in the end he can harvest something much more potent to dethrone what he considers his former boss. So he's actively trying to Xanatos Gambit this thing to where he can basically have all his eggs and chickens too. And of course, like with anything with bad guys, it's not going to quite work out that way. But yeah, it's just something I've always enjoyed. Again, like I've said in other videos, I like the overall bigger concept stuff, and then I'll filter it down through the characters. But yeah, that's what I've always liked. I've always liked the big whole what's the meta motivation, or like the big over-encompassing motivation, versus the street or ground level stuff, which I get it. Some people love the more of the ground level stuff. I love more of like what is happening on this chessboard kind of stuff. It's just my personal interest and preferences and things like that. Not that a ground level story can't be fun. Like, there's plenty of pulps that have both kinds of things in it. Like, you see the big overall meta arc, and you see some of the ground level stuff. But I think that's the reason why I also like the Dark Titan universe stuff too, because man, he loves doing his meta plots just as much as I do. I really got to get into like reviewing more stuff, but between writing, trying to keep stuff updated for the channel and everything else, it's like I got to do things like in piecemeal, like boop boop boop. Like tomorrow is going to be dedicated to putting more videos together, because I still have a few more in the queue that aren't out on the channel, because I want to space it out a little bit to where I might have like 2 or 3 videos a week, depending on the length. But yeah, this is more like a little bit of an onion episode, since Draco was interested into seeing how this goes. So, that's overall where I'm coming from. I like having the big cosmic look down, and then slowly I'll get to some more ground level, or you'll get to see certain things from a ground level. That's the reason why I introduced the page and a few of what happens to the genetic cast-offs of certain houses, and kind of how that society is fracturing under this weight of where you have the commons who are living by like more old school rules, which was part of Kalane's plan, because he knew that Set would want to tap into specialized house abilities that were forced upon them, and kind of like how Psycor does, breed this telepath with this telepath to create a stronger telepath. Well, Set had a similar idea with breed this Typherian with this Typherian to create a stronger Typherian in this particular sector of capability. It's gonna be interesting, at least to me, and I hopefully it'll end up being interesting to other people, just depending on what your preference in wheelhouse is. Again, writing is all about, at least in my point of view, is it should cater to the writer first and foremost. If people happen to overlap with wheelhouses and certain preferences, then yeah, go for it. It's like you're not going to capture everybody, I don't think. And yes, some people are going to have that mass explosion where it's like, the Twilights and all that stuff will end up going out into the stratosphere sometimes. I mean, sometimes I don't think you can really understand how the zeitgeist happens. But as long as you're basically feeding yourself, and it'll end up feeding other people too, because they'll be able to see that you're genuinely excited about something. That's just how I view writing. It's like, if the writer is interested in what they're telling, then it's most likely going to spill over to the audience too. Especially depending on how they want to read things. Again, it just depends on what kind of narrative framing devices you use. That will catch more eyeballs than other things. It's all up to you, basically. Just keep writing, everybody. Keep writing. But as far as the risk to Eliza specifically, and I'll link this particular Mind's comment and stuff and everything below. But here's a little hint for book 12. The bad guys aren't the only ones doing Xanatos gambits. You'll see this more from the future Eliza's perspective, especially with book 12. That's where I want to basically put like, so that's why, it's gonna be fun. And then again, I'll go back and edit any kind of like irregularities and things like that. Because sometimes there's some minor details that might change. Like I've had to make lists of like who looks like what, whatever hair color, a combination. For Typherians, for example, gray eyes are very, very rare. Kind of like how greener eyes are more rare in humans. So that's the reason why the gray eyes are usually attached to the Ayer family. So that's just something fun that I wanted to have for that. And they're all playing kind of like a more dangerous game. It's just that, just like any kind of game of chance or strategy and things like that, you're trying to maneuver yourself into the best position. Later on, Hillary's going to really throw a monkey wrench into the keeper side of things, but you'll see more of that with season 3, because I'm trying to build up to where in season 4 you'll see how all the bad guys are going to be working with each other and against each other versus, the all-out aspect they're going to have with the good guys. Like if you wanted to see kind of like superheroes having interesting times with a cosmic level oopsie daisy events, well, that a lot of that is going to be situated in the last part of the series. So I guess in a way you could say like the overall big explosive conflict is being built up to to a crescendo and whatnot. but I wanted to yeah, trying to talk today, but yeah, I wanted to basically showcase how these different parts are moving around, and eventually, yeah, you'll get to see a little bit more with the bad guys, but I keep them kind of shrouded because kind of like one, it lets it, when they do go on screen, it'll be more kind of like a potent event in terms of like, yes, they are instigating something else this time. The Sister Nyx's favorite child of messed up Artok, hybridization, is going around planting some oopsie daisies. Now, will the good guys find them all the caches? Like, no, that's just not possible. But I just want to try to showcase, like, yeah, each side is maneuvering to try to be like, okay, when we spring the trap or spring the big old battle, it's like it's going to be across all sectors. And even the shadows were instigating Sif, but the shadows made people fight each other. In this particular setting, most people have their junk together, and also a lot of the counter movements within each society has made dents against the corruption of Uplift Protocol and everything else. It's just that you'll see more and more of that as the open warfare really ramps up. Just like even in book 2, when I had the head Markav guy on the their golden world saying like, yeah, once all these other races come to their doorstep, that means the all-out war is already starting. And also for like resource expenditure, Earth isn't being idle right now. Like, Earth has known this is coming for generations. The various light shamans that have access to like kind of the dreaming sector within the weave, they keep getting a whole lot of information from the weave, and now that especially that their sector of space is cleared of corruption, they're going into overdrive. It's just that they can't be extremely blatant about it, otherwise the enemy will come in and basically curb stomp. So you kind of have to try to do a balance. But this is just me going through like what I like and like to write and what I really ultimately enjoy, because I've noticed when I read other books or other setups, I always like to look for like, okay, what's the big eye in the sky kind of plot. I like guessing at that. So there you have it. I just keep on guessing, because it's always fun to see people guessing stuff. You could have 10 readers guessing, 20 readers, 100, 1,000. It doesn't matter. I'm just glad that you guys are out there guessing and having fun with these little rambles. See you later, everybody.